How much do you think my ring would sell for?
I'm not doing this.
Not doing this. Way to shut that one down. Very smart. That's crazy, though. Who the fuck would pay for that? The fucking weirdos, man.
I don't think it's his. I think he's just selling one.
No, it's his.
Oh.
It's his own personal.
Oh, yeah. You find someone out there.
That's crazy, though.
People are nuts, man, when it comes to famous people.
I guess if you have that money, like, you might as well just go buy it.
No.
Well, if you have
even if you have that money, even if at that point, I don't know, maybe you're like an exotic collector, like the collector in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's something he'd be like, and now, next to the Infinity Stones is Frank Ocean's ring. Rocket Raccoon's like, what?
But if it was like,
what does a ring even do?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have Nash here, too.
Yeah, but if it was like Elvis's or like, I was going to say Michael Jackson.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But
oh, no.
But it
You're
was
saying
like,
Frank Ocean's not enough as a scumbag yet?
no, I'm saying like someone like famous or like super like.
Frank Ocean's famous.
But not famous.
What about The Weeknd? Does The Weeknd rank in with those guys?
I think you need like 30 years from then.
30 years?
Yeah, it's like a relic at that point.
Yeah, but I guess I see where you're coming from, but...
Frank Ocean's got 20 million monthly listeners on Spotify. That's famous.
Not
Elvis only has 10.
Elvis has been dead for almost a century.
Well, that's on him. That's not on Frank.
Yeah. Why is that Frank's problem?
But what I'm saying, like, people have Elvis shrines and museums and things dedicated to him and collectibles.
Well, now this Frank Ocean does
Frank
too.
Ocean's famous enough to get some sicko out there. It's not so unbelievable.
Yeah. No.
The Frank Ocean ring.
But like Prince.
Wee ring.
That's a $50K right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you want to start comparing prices.
And I wouldn't be like, oh, I would be like, okay, that makes sense.
Well, if you adjust for inflation, yeah, the Elvis ring is
that's true.
over $300K without a doubt.
So let me go back to the original question. How much is my cock ring selling for?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd 2 Podcast. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd 2 Monkey, and Nash, and we are here to talk about the hottest stories in Hollywood, not in music. Movies, TV, video games. Big stories to talk about. There was a lot of moving and shaking last week in the world of streaming. Some movies being canceled, some shows being canceled, some streaming services possibly being canceled. But to start this episode of the Nerd 2 Podcast, we will be reviewing the movie Prey, the new Predator movie that recently came out on Hulu and Disney Plus, not in theaters. But we'll also be talking some U.S. weekend box office, some video game movies that are coming out, and Lady Gaga joining Joker 2. That could have led the podcast, but Batgirl story is pretty big. Or the Prey review.
Yeah, that broke when we were recording last time.
Perfect timing, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just Batgirl, it's everything it means for HBO Max. It's just a lot to get into there.
Yes, there is. And you can listen to this podcast on YouTube, of course, and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, all the podcasting platforms. And follow us on social medias at Nerd Soup, Beau Soup, Nerd Soup Monkey, and Anthony JQ Nash on all platforms.
We need to get those YouTube comments going up, by the way. I know that you guys aren't big followers of the YouTube comments, but I read every single one.
Yeah, you know what? Comment down your thoughts below.
Yeah, comment.
Get that engagement up for us.
Yeah, it would be nice to I'll interact. I'll go on YouTube and interact.
You guys make fun of Teddy for saying comment this, comment that, and then now we need more comments.
No, we make fun of Teddy because he does it at the very end, and when no one's listening anymore, and he just says something ridiculous.
We do get some comments, though, when he says comment something.
You know what?
He could say it at the beginning. That's a fair point.
Well, yeah.
But let's not act like he's not bringing in comments. He's bringing in comments.
Oh, no, he does his job. But the thing about it, too, is he'll be like, comment Clam Chowder if you think that this is a good podcast.
What's his CPV?
CPV?
Comments per video. How much is he good for?
3?
Yeah, good 3. Sometimes that's the difference between making the playoffs and staying home.
I mean, every comment counts, you know?
You want to be a middling team. But before we get into this, I want to promote some stuff. So tomorrow we'll be dropping our Batman v Superman Revisited. We were supposed to drop that Monday, but blame Aaron. Comment that. Just
blame Aaron. Yell at Aaron.
Yell at Aaron and WarnerBros.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing that a little later in the pod, so you guys can join in on the fun. But
cool.
That's a good video. It's a fun video. Teddy's going to be on that one. I think we recorded it before his kid was born. So
I think it was post-kid.
Post-kid?
Yeah, it's a different
Teddy's like our
perspective.
Pop Smoke. We've got just
The Martha scene finally clicked for him.
yeah.
Yeah, as a dad, I know what he was
As a
going
father.
for. Yeah.
Who's married to a mother.
I don't get the reference, Pop Smoke.
We've got a bunch of recordings in the vault that he did.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
Teddy's actually going to be featured on the new Weekend song coming out this weekend.
Okay, got it.
And,
I really wish he was like Pop Smoke.
And next week, we're dropping
Dead.
our House of the Dragon preview podcast. So that's going to be fun. We're going to talk about what we're expecting for the first episode of House of the Dragon and for the season as a whole. So if you guys want to submit some questions, we're looking for some good ones. Go on our Instagram page, and we'll be fielding some questions before we record that podcast for next week. So that should be a good one. All right, like I said, we're going to get into a movie review real quick before we break down the first story. So I'm going to throw it to myself for our movie review of Prey, the new Predator sequel prequel. So Prey, the first movie from Dan Trachtenberg since 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was a movie I think both of us really liked when it came out at the time. Very suspenseful, good character stuff, wacky ending. And then this movie, I felt like it had a lot of the same similar strengths. It was intense, great female lead, a character that, is thrown through the ringer, getting into spoilers, like I said. So I thought this was excellent. It's really unfortunate that this is a movie that had to come out on streaming, because I think if it came out in theaters, it would have done well. The Predator franchise is very recognizable. Some of the promotional material for this movie is great. I think the poster is so iconic, gets you right into the movie. So it's a shame. I would have liked to have seen what type of box office success this movie could have had, because I think it would have been a modest hit.
Yeah, I think especially word of mouth, I think would have helped this movie a lot. You see how it's affected it just through streaming. This is something that I really didn't even hear about or even knew it was coming out to Hulu until people started talking about it a couple of weeks ago when the early reviews were coming in. But yeah, very interesting choice. I think Predator, it's an iconic franchise, but when you talk about the movies themselves, it's really hanging on that first film. So maybe trying to stay away from that and not use it in some of the marketing, or not really putting it in your face that's a Predator movie, was a choice by the marketing team. But yeah, like you said, it's a shame that this wasn't in theaters, and I think it could have done pretty well. I think the whole lead up to this movie, or on the marketing side, was a little weird to me. To have it on streaming, to not really market it as much as I think this movie deserved, and not getting that theatrical release. And I think I'll talk about it a little later, but you put some more money into this movie, you put a great marketing team around it, and really push it. I think this could have made like over, I don't know, hundreds of millions.
I definitely think that I can't find any information on the budget, but the last Predator movie in 2018 made 160 worldwide, and it wasn't well received.
Yeah.
So if this comes out with some good marketing promotion and the word of mouth, like you said, spreading from people to people, saying how good it is, I definitely think it could have been a hit. I mean, some people on the internet have been arguing over that, but just getting into the movie, like I said, it flies by. And I think the star of the movie, obviously Amber Mid-Thunder, was incredible in this lead role. But the real star for me was the setting. It was so atmospheric. It was this bloody, muddy terrain, so much carnage. You just felt everything about this character's journey because the setting was so strong and so visceral. That's the thing that really stood out to me. It's a genius idea to drop the Predator in early 18th century North America, and I think this is cool. This could be how you approach this franchise moving forward. Is just find different locations to drop them in, because in the back of my mind I'm thinking, how the hell are they going to pull this off? But they did such a good job of not only developing the lead character, but the characters around her, to establish that they're hunters, the rite of passage that she's going through. And it wasn't really an emphasis on there wasn't really an emphasis on girl power. It was sort of, she's unproven. She's inexperienced. So it's not necessarily that she can't do it because she's a woman. It's because she just hasn't done it. So you're seeing that great development through all of her failures, which eventually leads up to me as a great victory in the end.
I think you can tell like all the trolls didn't see the movie, because everything you saw online, and like they literally go through it step by step in the film. But like you said, the landscape was fantastic, and that would be like, I'm imagining in my mind like Assassin's Creed, how each game takes place in a new era and in a different location. That would be so cool to do with the Predators, just drop them during like the fucking Renaissance. Yeah,
because people were saying that in the first movie, they're these mercenaries who were taken out by the Predator. That's why they were taken out, because they're just hired killers. Mm-hmm. Their job is to kill people, to deal with warlike situations. and they didn't realize until the very end that the predator was hunting them. But this character is a hunter, so she can pick up on some of the things that are happening. You know, she's ahead of the curve when it comes to saying, hey, there's something out here, that it's not natural or it's not native to these lands, and we need to take care of this. So it's hunter versus hunter rather than just killers versus hunter.
Right.
And even in that first movie, at the end, Arnold has to adjust and outsmart the predator. So they defeat it in similar ways.
Yeah, no, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Was similar to very recently Nope. It made me think of how little by little throughout the film the characters get to learn more about this both a predator in each film. They learn a little bit more and more, and they're able to defeat it using their brains and their prior knowledge, knowing the lands, knowing, like you said, the skills as hunters. Because that's another big theme in the movie. Is it's almost like a rite of passage, right? Hunting something that's hunting you, something that she's been preparing for, and she says in the movie she's been practicing in order to prove herself to the rest of the camp. And I think. And when you see like her journey play out, it kind of makes sense. And like I said, I love when she's able to kind of pick up on things that, you know, at first glance, you know, as a viewer, you might not catch at first. But then once they start to realize what's going on, and they're able to outsmart and use their knowledge and their skills in order to defeat it in a different way, not just straight up one-on-one versus a predator, because I don't think anybody could. I'm happy, though, if a predator ever came, he would just see me and be like, not a threat.
Right. Yeah. This guy has no fighting skills.
Yeah, I'm going to survive. But that was another theme of the movie. Everyone just just judging a book by a cover. Very old cliche, but I think it plays out very well. Not realizing something's a threat that ends up being very much a threat.
Yeah, and I think, you know, he takes the premise of man versus nature. This is cosmic nature because he is an alien. And they strip it down even further, and they end up doing more with less because of the lack of advanced weaponry and technology. It is going to be about these Native American Comanche hunters using their skills that they developed over hundreds of years for their greatest fight against the predator, who, somebody made this point on Twitter, eventually he's got to get a win because he just gets his ass kicked in every movie. No matter what age, era, he comes to Earth, he scopes out an area, and then he gets his shit rocked when he's not, you know, fighting animals that can't do patterns and shit like that.
You say that, like in the grand scheme of things, no, he ends up getting his head cut off. But like, he killed like countless other predators on Earth, and like
he fucked up
whole
that
army,
bear.
Pretty much.
That is true.
So like,
ooh, French.
He's like, yeah, true. He's like 28-1. That's a good record.
Yeah, no, he came into it the heavy favorite without a doubt. But when it comes to humanity, we've got these guys as numbers, you know? It's a miracle every single time, you know, Team USA beating Russia. How many Goliath's got to get one victory. I thought the Predator was really well done in this movie in terms of how terrifying and intimidating he was.
Oh, it was
like
perfect.
The sequence when you have the rat trying to kill its prey, and then the snake kills the rat, and then the Predator kills the... That caught me off guard because I forgot he was there. They established that he's in the scene, and then he uses his camouflage, and then he pops back up.
By the way, you want to like shut around like you're some big hunter. Lose the camo.
And somebody else on the internet made a point that it took them 300 years to come back after this ass whooping. But yeah, the Predator was really cool, and you know, the CGI animals, of course, you could tell they're CGI time. But like I said, the wilderness in this movie was just as scary as the Predator.
No, the natural element was beautiful, and yeah, like you said, the wilderness, the bear was fucking frightening. Yeah. But going into like the amount of resources that go into this film, I don't think it would have been much just to develop a solid marketing campaign around it, push it into theaters, distribution, and just, you know, some extra hours of fixing some of that CGI, especially early on. I think when they needed it to look great, it looks great. But other points, I think, was a little not as realistic. Didn't take me out of the movie. It's just something I picked up on. And I think, you know, it very much feels like an acquisition from Fox. You're like, all right, let's just get this out here.
But why are they doing this with all these movies? They keep doing this with these movies that they brought over from Fox after the merger.
I think it's very much they have a plan, and they're just like, these are extras.
Yeah, that's wild to me. I mean, it was such a big acquisition. It's also just the artistic appeal. Maybe it's not going to be the biggest hit, but at least give it that theatrical release that it was made for. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this is that Trachtenberg, I think that's his name, his first movie since 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's been a few years. So now he gets the call, your movie's coming out on Hulu and Disney Plus in some countries. Well, it wasn't made for them. I mean, look how epic it is, you know? The kills are so gnarly, they're so bloody. The action choreography is so crisp and well done.
Very well.
Right, and I was reading a review, and they say that the Predator movies, you can really take the temperature of action based on the Predator movies of that era. So you can definitely see this is the post-John Wick era, where everything, even though it's set in the wilderness, everything's very clean. The makeups, all their hair looks great. The makeup looks great. The costumes, the wardrobes, everything is very clean. I think maybe at times it could have been muddied up a bit more, but it was muddy enough for me.
Well, I think from a storytelling perspective, I think dialogue-wise, it wasn't as tight. I think what was going on screen and kind of the nonverbal storytelling was where it was at its strongest. I think
you were looking for some Shakespearean dialogue in
I'm
your
just
Predator
saying,
movie.
if we're gonna just go at it from what it was, but
Does the Predator challenge I?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is John Hamm in the movie theater.
I think that's also a compliment that not a lot of people can utilize visual storytelling in a compelling way. And like you said, such a crisp hour and 40 minutes, it was just thoroughly entertaining from start to finish. This is a perfect movie when it comes to if I want to recommend someone just to turn their brain off and have a great time watching something, and not at the theater but at home. But it's just what I think it achieved what it was set out to do. It would just be a thoroughly entertaining movie that I think was pretty frightful at times. But yeah, some of the choreography I thought was shot very well. I like how things kind of, when you talk about some of the storytelling perspective, things that came up early, came back on later in the film. The plant that cools your body temperature, which I thought was a really cool twist on the mud thing from earlier on, from the first movie. The wet bowstring, I think she mentioned something to her brother, "Are you going to get your bowstring wet?" And later on, her bowstring gets wet and she can't use it. Little things like that, I think, really made the world complete, or that sect of the world.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's so much tension throughout this movie, like I said, with the scenes with the Predator, but without the Predator as well, when she's just trying to escape from the mud. That had me on the edge of my seat, hoping that she can pull herself out of there, and that was a great callback in the end too. Like I mentioned, I was just wondering, how the hell are they going to beat this guy? Because he looks absolutely unstoppable. So when that all came together, and throughout the movie she's failing, she fails to kill the lion, even though her plan does work. She fails to kill the bear. She even struggles to kill the rabbit. So they're building her up for this victory, and I think it's an immensely emotional payoff there in the end. It's so satisfying. But what they did with the minor characters, like the brother, when he shows up after killing the lion, that's all you need from that character, where you understand the reverence that they have for him in the village, that he is the ultimate hunter and warrior for them to look up to. So when he comes in at the end, when he saves her with the dog, which, by the way, the dog was just fantastic in this movie. And it's so great that he's helpful. He's actually doing things that are realistic. He didn't die. He comes in and he distracts the Predator, and then the brother just stabs in the back. That was an awesome moment. But he, obviously the Naru is the lead, and she's the beast at the center of this thrill ride. But he had a great impact for me as well. So when he does die, it was emotional, and they had the nice callback of this is where it stops or this is where it ends.
Yeah.
But all that stuff was really well done. And her trying to prove herself to the other hunters and the mother character. The French were perfectly just terrible.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the British and RRR, so taking some shots here at the French, the British, all these colonizers. When he was trapped, the nice French guy who gave her the gun, that was a nail-biting scene as well. Mm-hmm. Don't move, don't budge. He fucked himself over by crawling away. Should have just stayed there.
Yeah.
But there were so many scenes like that in this movie that just it keeps your attention. By the time you know it, it's over. That's how gripping the movie actually was.
I think one of my favorite weapons in movie history is Axe on a Leash.
Axe on a Leash.
That was badass.
It was really badass. She was. Yeah, and the final confrontation between her and the Predator was so satisfying. Get him trapped in the mud, and he's coming back up.
Yeah.
And then at that point, when it clicked for me, I thought, oh, badass. She got this stupid motherfucker.
You go back to the Predator, too. It's I think he was just utilized perfect. It's you don't really see him too much. And then when you do, he's just fucking terrifying. And just his actions of ripping that bear open and having the blood drip on him, and you could see the outline of him, was terrifying. And there's no they showed a few shots of him collecting trophies of his kills. And I think that's all you need. You don't really need anything even if you don't know anything about Predator or any of the Predators and you're going into it, I think that's all you need to establish. It's like, he's coming here, he's a hunter, and that's it. They don't need some crazy backstory. We don't need to know why he's here, why he chose this area, why he's going after the human. He's just a bad alien that needs to be dealt with. And even him trying to figure things out. Like, he sees the weaponry of the people during this time period, and he's able to kind of create his own versions of those weapons. I thought it was cool, and it really mirrored, even though he has the advanced technology, so he's able to just make everything better. Like, that net was the net he made after he got netted, that just tightened up and just
Oh, yeah.
diced the guy.
Yeah, that was nasty.
And his, like, he saw the weapon come out of the sleeve, and he did the same thing. So him adapting to his terrain was kind of neat also. But yeah, like, her figuring out that he is reading body heat, getting the mask off, that being a big part of it. Seeing how he fought, playing into that, knowing what he would do, leading him into the mud pit, knowing the terrain, that's just a huge advantage. I mean, we see it in, like, warfare and things of that nature, and her being able to use that to best him, I think that was actually really well done.
Yeah, the character development really stands out in this movie. And people always ask me why, they tell me to defend movies against television, saying you can get more into character, you can develop them further. But this is the benefit of character development in movies, where you can use, like you said, the nonverbal moments, putting her in these different scenarios that all build up to that final confrontation. So by the end of the movie, you're sort of really satisfied with the journey you've had with these characters, and it feels like you've been with them for many months, not just a few days in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of the magic of this movie. And like I said, the lead performance, she's just an absolute beast. A lot of the best shots in the movie are just focusing on her face and her reactions to things. She looks so good in the makeup. So credit to her. And like I said, credit to all the performers in this movie. And especially the Predator and the dog. You can argue that this is the best the Predator has been.
I wonder where this franchise goes for. I think like how, what you said, just doing it different time periods and jumping around and playing with the idea of dropping this Predator into different situations, because as much as individually, like, Arnold's the star, she's the star, like, the Predator it's the Predator. And I think you could have done this movie without the Predator and just have it a different alien threat, but I think that such an iconic character showing up, I think, kind of builds intrigue, and there's a familiarity with that, but also I think it also could help rejuvenate the franchise a bit, get more good faith with people. Because if you heard, I mean, a month ago, if I'm like, oh, this Predator movie's coming straight to Hulu, what are you thinking? Like, oh, it's just going to be another shit movie. But it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it did premiere at Comic-Con, so obviously that was just last month, so it's only been a few weeks to kind of build up a word of mouth, but we'll see what Disney wants to do with it. It's a Disney property. Looks like, depending on whether the movie is good or bad, doesn't matter when it comes to these Fox properties coming out. They're not going to promote them. Or they're not going to promote them the way that they deserve to be. Dumping this on Hulu and Disney Plus, as I mentioned in the beginning of the review, it's just disrespectful to the creators who work so hard on it. And that's something we're going to be talking about on this podcast for the next topic as well.
No, I think there's a lot of similarities when it comes to, or different points you can pick and choose, especially when it comes to just how these companies value streaming service and what they actually think of them and potential to make money. Because if HBO Discovery is the standard, then you know they don't really think too highly of those platforms. But yeah, anytime something comes and make waves, I think the studio's first thought is, all right, how can we make money on this again?
Yeah, and Disney's out hurting for money, so we'll see what the future plans are for another Predator movie, but at the very least, at least this one's good.
Yes.
So I think we can both say that we enjoyed this movie. It's a fun movie to kind of just talk about. You know, it's one of those you watch and then you talk about it at the water cooler. This scene was awesome. That scene was awesome, you know? It's just a fun action movie. Very gritty, very gripping and riveting. So, well done.
When he was picking apart the Frenchman, that was...
Yeah, that was fucked up. Everyone seems to really enjoy that. When he just destroys the Frenchman.
Well, even
and
like,
then she fucked him up too, you know, when she saves the dogs.
Yeah.
When she saves her dog.
She's fucking, beating the shit out of them.
That was a great tracking action shot.
Yeah, I need to get myself a leash axe. And,
Would turn on the TV. You lost the remote.
I would cut my arm off in a minute.
All right, that does it for our review of Prey. Now we will move on to our next story about Warner Brothers Discovery canceling the Batgirl movie. Obviously, this was a big story. Like we said, a lot of moving and shaking going on with Warner Brothers Discovery. The big news that started it all when we were recording last week was that the Batgirl movie has been canceled. So that was like an earthquake that hit Hollywood. It's unprecedented. Obviously, movies have been canceled in the middle of production or when production just started, but to basically cancel a movie that was already shot and almost fully produced, like I said, it's unprecedented.
Yeah, it's like either your star got charged with all these heinous crimes and got canceled and you can't release it, or someone like passed and couldn't do something. Like, it's not because they just didn't want to. Even terrible movies have been released. They're like, oh, well, it's already done. What are we going to do?
You know how bad that movie must have been, where they sat down, they filmed it and everything, and they're rewatching it, and they're like, there's no way this could ever just see the light of day. It's got to be terrible.
But somebody made a point
it's
that...
impossible because that's not the reason why they did it. I mean, I'm sure if it was a masterpiece in their hands, they might have released it, but I don't think it's because of what direction they're trying to go to and revamping their model when it comes to streaming. And I think if this movie was good to middle, I don't think it would have made a difference. I don't think it was just so bad. I think this was just their idea coming into it. I'm sure if it was maybe a masterpiece, they might have reconsidered, but anything short of that, I just don't think it was worth it in their eyes to go forward with the release, which is ridiculous.
But what's the difference between, like Batgirl and Black Adam? Because I even saw a report that said Black Adam and Batgirl had similar test reactions.
I think one...
I guess you just don't want to piss off The Rock.
The money you spent to make that movie is more than $80 million. And you have a bankable star in The Rock, which they are probably hoping is going to help them break even at the very least.
Right. I mean, the initial point for what they did to Batgirl, it is disgraceful. It's very disrespectful to those filmmakers. And I hope it dampens artists' perception of working with Warner Brothers in the future. I hope they keep this in the back of their minds. Like Christopher Nolan complained about during 2020. We all said he was crazy and he didn't have his priorities straight. But I guess in a way, they made the choice to put all those titles on HBO Max in 2021, and a lot of people praise them. If they want to go to a new direction, fine, where they're not going to put movies on streaming, that's okay. But, his whole thing of we're going in a new direction, we have this 10-year plan, so you have a plan to make good movies? Doesn't everyone? If you're coming into it saying we can't release bad movies, that's what movie making is. You don't know. It's not a guarantee that it's going to be good, no matter how much money you put into it, no matter who's starring in it.
No, I think coming in and canceling the projects, if you have a plan going forward, good, you could do that plan. But you have these movies made, people worked hard on them, you've made actors made commitments, valuable time of their lives to come in, not do other projects, set aside what they had just to do this project for you, and just to throw it out completely, I think is ridiculous. Start your plan after this. If you have a plan, fine. Get through this. Even if it's not good, put it out there, just have it there, and then who knows, maybe you will end up breaking even on it. I think it was a $20 million tax write-off, so I guess they still lost money on it, but they were going to lose money regardless. So I think sometimes when people come into new positions and new companies, they just want to shake things up and do things their way, and the total disregard from what was there before you is, I think, like you said, disrespectful. And the other part of it is maybe he's not wrong in saying that these are the projects that we shouldn't be focusing on and we should put our money and our focus elsewhere. That could all be right, but the way it was handled, I think, was done really distasteful.
Yeah, you feel awful for the actors, actresses, like you said, put in so much time and so much effort, and to give up other projects more money, and now this just randomly gets the chair pulled right under them. I mean, they're losing $70 million off of this. You might as well just fucking release it. I don't
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
With what you've had to put audiences through, trying to make sense of DC movies and the continuity, this isn't going to make or break DC and their 10-year plan moving forward.
No.
If Batgirl comes out and it's not well received, and there's Michael Keaton and there's J.K. Simmons, and people are wondering, where does this even fit in? Just move on from it, right?
But not even
That's
Batgirl.
what they've done it to Superman.
But even the HBO originals that they removed from the library, they're going to write off for tax purposes as well.
It's not only Batgirl, right?
It's an overhaul of their platform in order to save money or to change gears. And the gear change might be the best thing for, like, it could be beneficial. We don't know what the numbers are. We don't see behind the scenes. They could just be hemorrhaging money at HBO Max. Even no matter how much we can say it's the best streaming service and that we love it and we like the things that are coming out and the content, if they're not making money, they're not going to continue with it. But I think there's a way to make an easier transition or ease into this new future that he has planned. Like, I think one of the things that they said was like, these HBO Max originals aren't worth it. And we talked about this, I think, a lot when it comes to streaming service films. And what is it worth for a service to have a good movie and spend money like Netflix spending $200 million on The Gray Man? How does that translate to their... How do they profit off of that? Are you getting enough people to join your service to make that make sense? Or are you just doing it because you have the resources, but your subscribers aren't going up at all, or you're going down?
Yeah, I think the idea of the theater model being a more sustainable business model, I'm all for that. We want to preserve the theatrical experience. We were worried for a long time during those 2 years. I mean, the pandemic's still going, but when it first started and going into 2021, is this going to be the end of theaters? And I think a lot of these studios are realizing that that is the best model for profits. That's what he kept emphasizing, that we're going to spend our money on profitable films, so more blockbuster films. So those smaller shows, those scripted shows on HBO Max that have been canceled or are going to be canceled, it's definitely going to just hurt the overall quality of shows. Look how many, Emmy-nominated shows that they've been able to produce on HBO Max. I think they just set a record for streaming services in the last Emmys. They had over 100 nominations.
But HBO, I think what the model going forward is HBO is going to be HBO still. Your Successions, your House of the Dragons, your primetime HBO is still going to the same. I think they're just not going to focus more on HBO Max originals, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
But there are a lot of HBO Max originals that people like.
Sure.
That are good shows, great shows, some would even argue. A show like the Harley Quinn show could be done.
Yeah.
Just because they feel like that's not in their best interest to make money. And even slashing, this is WarnerBros. The Looney Tunes are supposed to be their mascots. And now they're saying we're going to cut back on animated content and family-related content in favor of reality TV and documentaries. So it feels like they're gutting HBO Max to prop up Discovery, which is really, what is it going to look like next summer if they truly do merge HBO Max and the Discovery app? What does that app look like? You're going to gut HBO Max, one that's thriving in terms of quality and popularity.
The numbers must say something different, unless this is just
right. But Netflix didn't make money for how many years? Tesla didn't make money for how many years? There have been companies that have been around for several years that don't make money at first, but they know that in the long run you can make money.
Sure.
Usually how businesses go. You don't profit right in the beginning. You just got to sacrifice.
To pull the plug, if that's what it really is on HBO Max, to pull the plug this early, it seems a bit extreme.
No, I think it's, like you said, I think honestly they might have came in a little too hot. And I think a lot of it has to do with pandemic numbers being so high because that was the only way you're going to be able to see new movies because theaters were closed. And I think some of that has balanced out a little, and they put all their resources seeing those numbers into HBO Max originals, especially some of these movies that none of them are crazy budgets, but 40 million here, 50 here. No way they're getting that money back when it comes to new subscribers coming in. Same thing with Netflix. It really is. It really, I don't know. I'm obviously not, I don't have inside knowledge of their profits and what they get, how they view these movies and projects as successes, but you see a lot of shit, a lot of these streaming services pay a lot of money on that nobody watches, and those pile up a lot. And I think to try to kind of balance that out with their good content is proving to be a non-sustainable model going forward. And
just going back to what Ruben said, though, like, how do you know if it's good content or not if you don't release it? I don't know. What other shows did they say that they're getting rid of? Did they say any shows in particular?
There was a couple of family sitcoms that they were getting rid of. I don't have a list in front of me, but there was some HBO Max originals. But now a lot of these shows are kind of in purgatory. Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen to them because they are technically HBO Max originals. But even thinking about the Batman Part 2, what if the Batman Part 2 is not in their plans? Their master 10-year plan, similar to Marvel.
We've heard this so many times. I remember Jeff, was it Johns, right? he was going to be like the new Feige of DC, and that went to shit. They do this all the time, and I think the public perception of DC and what Warner Brothers is doing is not great either. So you see this move and them canceling Batgirl, it's like, obviously it's a disappointment, but you really have no faith when it comes to them and building whatever it is they're building. And it's this obsession with Marvel needs to stop. Obviously, they look at the box office numbers and you want to emulate that, but why don't you look at your other projects that are doing well, that people like? You know, the new Suicide Squad, very highly regarded. Peacemaker, Batman, Joker. Like, it seems like they were finding their own little niche in the superhero film industry. And I guess they just want to scrap that and try the expanded universe again. Doesn't make sense to me.
Look at all these studios who spent the last 10 years chasing Marvel to no success. Yet Universal with the Dark Universe, Sony tried to do their own little universe, ended up fucking having to work with Disney on a Spider-Man franchise. And Warner Brothers, the biggest culprit of trying to chase Marvel's success. So they're saying, listen, the last 10 years didn't work. We're just going to do the same exact thing for these next 10 years.
We're
going to try and catch lightning in the bottle for a third time, because Marvel did it once, we failed at it the second time. So third time's a charm, right? That's usually how it works. Lightning in the bottle, 2 out of 3.
Well, I think the weirdest...
And we've been asking for it on the podcast, sorry to cut you off, for years, for them just clean the slate and start over. Now when they're starting to find their footing with quality shows and movies, they're like, you know what? Let's reboot this whole thing.
It's like, we just wanted the HBO Max...
Shit's baffling.
Yeah, like...
But also, HBO Max, maybe they aren't making money on it, but you're, 2 to 3 years into this, right? And you're a conglomerate. How does everything you do have to be based on profit? It's a naive thing to say, right? Of course, it is show business.
Think of the stockholders.
But you have potential here in the years ahead to what is HBO Max going to look like in 10 years? And we've said on the podcast for a long time, all of these companies getting into streaming, eventually it's going to be a handful left standing, if that. That's how it goes whenever there's a technological boom or a new source, a new medium of entertainment. It always happens like that. Corporations spend money ridiculously. Some of them lose a lot of money, and then a few are left standing. The cream of the crop, as they say. So maybe that could have been HBO Max and Netflix and a Disney Plus in 10 years when all these other streaming services, because Paramount just said they lost like $2 billion on their streaming service. That doesn't surprise me.
Cable.
It's coming around in a full circle.
But that's not good for quality of content, because we've seen the quality go up since streaming has started, where you are seeing more passion projects in the form of movies or shows. Maybe it's not making money, but in terms of quality, look at the Emmy winners over the last 10 years. How many of them have been streaming services?
I think we overrate
from streaming services.
I think especially us, sometimes we lose track of how popular a certain thing is. We look at what's popular in our circles.
The Crown. It's pretty popular. Well, not Succession.
No.
But just came out who just won for Best Drama? Wasn't it a show from a streaming service?
What? This past Emmys? No,
Handmaid's Tale was a streaming service show.
Sure, quality is through the roof. I think we've seen a very big uptick in quality, but when it's kind of, because I don't agree, and I think their kind of pulse on what people want is a little bit off. But when it comes down to it, a lot of shows, like they say, from the Discovery are immensely popular. Like wide-reaching appeal. When you talk about like the 90 Day Fiancés, what's always trending, The Bachelors, even though that's obviously ABC Disney, but shows like that have an immense fan base and following. And that's probably what they see is getting the most numbers, most views, most clicks, most social interaction. Before this news, I don't think we talked about Batgirl. Nobody else talked about Batgirl or was looking forward to Batgirl. And a lot of people had the same reaction that, we don't trust DC Warner Brothers and it's probably not going to be good. The second it got cut, that's when the outpouring came out. And things like that happens all the time when shows and not movies, but when shows get canceled and you have this outpouring of people who haven't watched it or had no intention of watching it be upset, and then it gets picked up by another service and it's going back to nobody watching. It happens all the time. I think sometimes we just overrate how popular or how certain things will do. Not to say that it was right for them to cut it, but like I said, I think they did it in a poor way. But when you're looking at their numbers they probably see, 90 Day Fiancé is probably our most bankable asset right now. We're going to try to focus on some of those things.
Yeah, like Love Island. Love Island's immensely popular.
Right, but when you call cable superior to streaming, you're just as a business model, not in terms of quality of content.
I just like cable.
Right,
it's easy. Everything's just on one box for me.
Yeah.
I pay my monthly bill and
that's it.
Yeah,
because I did get a kick out of
Right.
one of the replies to your tweet.
What?
When it was like, does he know? Like, you're just cheering on this cable company, this TV network gutting
cable
the streaming
company
service.
sucks. Yeah.
Canceling all these shows that people love.
No, I just like
and you're
being
cheering it
able
on
to
with like Thanos.
go to Impractical Jokers when the Yankees are doing a pitching change.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that it has come full circle. Like
I think
you
it's
said.
still so like we think streaming it's such a staple of our entertainment.
But you can
as a
also look
society,
at some of the
but-
numbers for the highest watched shows. I mean,
I
a lot
know.
of them are on streaming
But we were
in terms of scripted TV. I mean, just last year at the Emmys, Euphoria, that's an HBO Max original. You have a Netflix show. You have Apple TV with Severance,
But
Squid Game for Netflix, Stranger Things, Netflix. Succession is also considered an HBO Max hybrid now.
But I just think they're getting rid of that as an entity. Like, it's just going to be HBO. They're just going to put everything back to HBO.
Right.
And obviously, that's a
But
lot
it
of
looked like
things
we
to
were
keep
getting
up.
more
Yeah.
HBO shows under the HBO Max umbrella because of the existence
Yes.
of HBO Max. So that's disappointing.
Do you still have that episode of Maid recorded on your TV?
I don't. No, I don't.
You deleted it?
Yeah, that was on an old DVR. So
DVR. Remember DVR? On demand?
TiVo?
Play from the beginning? Oh, missed it. Oh, I could play from the beginning.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
All you can do everything on like that on a streaming
stop
service.
looking for cable.
I
No,
can't
it's
believe
just-
it. Oh, we got to find that episode.
We could definitely find it on the internet. It's got to be in the archives,
It's
right?
like the
I would think so.
There's Beau Oliver on an MTV show. Come on,
Yeah.
I think
Baby
what
Beau.
we lose sometimes is because streaming service is such a staple of our entertainment that it's still very new, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure it out still.
Oh yeah.
And I think Netflix can afford to have patience with it. They do
So
things.
can Warner Brothers. That's the other thing that gets
when
me.
when
This is a
someone,
major corporation, a conglomerate.
it's someone new coming in that has no attachment to this. That's coming in just looking strictly on numbers. Like, this isn't fucking working.
But this new CEO, David Zaslav, I think is his name. Make sure I have that right.
What's up, David?
Some of the comments he's made about
he's-
scripting television are very. What were
well,
you
the
going
whole
to say?
like male skew and female skew
Yeah.
and some of the thing, I think he's out of touch on a lot of things.
But he doesn't even and that has to be a part of it. I understand it is about making money, but look at some of the film industries in smaller countries around the world. They have to be financed by the government because they're not going to make money. They rely on handouts to exist, and it's an artistic investment. We can benefit from actually releasing movies and shows and making some money. Maybe some years you're going to have some bad years, but like they're a major corporation. This guy's on track to be paid $250 million by the end of his tenure as the CEO of Warner Media. $250 million. So you can't give Batgirl $90 million, but you can give one motherfucker who's, listen, I don't know how good he is as a businessman, but I think I could run this company. At this point, it's like making me the CEO of an oil company. You know,
I think
the infrastructure's in place.
whenever shit like this happens in the film industry or in streaming or wherever, I always look back. It's like, not that I could do, like, I'm just saying, like, just their pulse on what people want is sometimes so off. But like you said, they're looking at ones and zeros instead of what certain fandoms want. And I think
$250
coming in, looking at
million
probably
for
like,
one person.
all right,
He's getting paid an Endgame budget.
I know. Game of Thrones makes this amount. Okay, we have Batman makes this much. Joker. So we're going to focus on that and take some of these smaller projects and dump them to the side. Like I said, like, I think the biggest, if there was, it was just weird how it all came out. Don't you think? Like, it was just news dump and dump, like, this is getting canceled, this is getting canceled. Like, no one was like,
Well, a lot of leaks because of the earnings call, I
and
guess.
before, like, the call and everything was explained, I think it was explained very poorly. I think that they could have done a better job on their end of being like, hey, this is what we're going to do moving forward, make it an easier transition, still release Batgirl, still release all these other finished projects, because there are other projects, maybe not. Batgirl is the big one because obviously of the DC fandom and finally getting a movie with this character in live action, and probably the most popular of the other properties that got canceled. But you still can't forget about the people who worked on all those other projects that's never going to see the light of day now.
Yeah, I can't get over his line that the next 10 years we're going to base it off of what Marvel is doing. When you really start to make a list of all the projects they've announced and canceled, Joker Harley movie, Nightwing, Batgirl, Ben Affleck's Batman movie, Cyborg and the Flash movie that's been delayed for how many years now, and it's still coming out even though this guy has now been charged with a felony for burglary in Vermont.
He's on a tear.
Right, and for them to still put that movie out with everything in the media surrounding Ezra Miller, for all the crimes that they've committed, all the accusations that have been levied against them, I don't believe that movie's coming out. It's been a long-running joke.
It's going to end up coming out.
But, okay, so are you familiar? Well, yeah, you guys are familiar with the leak, obviously, because It's been all over the internet. You're going to preserve this movie because of
money.
Those cameos, though? Okay, money, I get it, but it could be written off it could be a tax write-off, too. I don't know how, I guess way more money was pumped into this than a Batgirl, especially bringing back some of those actors. But it's like if this isn't related to the master plan,
well, it's going to reset everything. That's been
this is going to be the reset.
That's been like the rumor for a while, and that's kind of what everyone...
You're saying the Flash is going to be the reset?
Well, that's kind of what a lot of people pointed to, with Flashpoint being something that you can use to reset some things and kind of have a clearer picture going forward with the DCEU. But it's still fucking so confusing.
Not a good start.
No.
They're going just full rebuild. That's what they're doing. They thought they had their quarterback, and now
they're tanking for when Benyama, the French guy.
Oh, the French guy, Victor.
Yeah, they're trying to bring him in.
That's really what it is. It's like, all right, we're not going to make the playoffs this year. We're going to trade away all our assets. Anything that costs money is getting out of here. We're going to have all this free money now and cap space and space for other things. And we're going to go.
But this feels like
forward.
when the Clippers unloaded at the deadline so that they can sign Kawhi and Paul George. They were a playoff team with Tobias. Then they shedded all those contracts. Still made the playoffs. So it's a weird move because you were on the right trajectory. And I guess maybe there's greener pastures over the hill, as they like to say.
Yeah, it's, they're, like you said before, they're in purgatory, Like one team like the Orlando Magic. They always seem to have these high draft picks, and they're never good, but they're never not that bad where...
Right, but DC's, Warner Brothers as a whole has won chips. Let's not, like I just said, I'm pretty sure HBO Max set the record for most Emmy nominations of any streaming service. So... That's why it's mind-boggling to me. This guy feels like such a artificial, like an AI, like Don Cheadle's character in Space Jam 2 running Warner Bros.
Yeah. Big Don Cheadle, baby.
No. Don Cheadle guy. Well, any last words on this topic so we can move on? Don't run this too long.
Well, I just want to say reality TV is fake. So that's all I want to say.
So is wrestling, but
yeah,
still entertaining.
I get it. That was something that... I think was the biggest shock, especially from HBO. Maybe, obviously not the Discovery side, but moving away from scripted, shows and movies.
Yeah, we're moving away from scripted content. So shows and movies.
Yeah.
And I understand that reality TV is very popular. And you can make a lot of money for cheap. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really cost much to produce those shows. But we can't have both. We can't live in a world with both.
You would think. But
I still...
What you're saying...
But people always complain it's the consumer who dictates what these companies do. It's what they want.
Yes.
But that's not always the case. There have been plenty of companies who have struggled in the beginning, proven that their product is good. It's about getting people to realize that your product is good. It just looking backwards to try and predict the future doesn't always work. So for them to lay out all these shows and all these IPs that we think are going to be profitable.
No, I think as a major studio, both in film and television, the disrespect to the filmmakers and actors and everybody a part of those projects is something that I think is an egregious misstep on his behalf, on this new CEO's behalf, because that's your bread and butter.
Look at a company like Nintendo. Nintendo's been around dominating the video game market for decades. When PlayStation and Microsoft came out with stronger consoles, more enhanced technology, Nintendo didn't budge. They were saying, we're focused on our art style. We want to make games the way we envision them. We want to try and think outside the box. It's not only about how much RAM and how much memory and how good are the graphics and how many pixels. It's about staying true to the content we produce. Look at the success they've had. They're still around. Everyone, when they announce whatever comes after the Nintendo Switch, it's going to be a huge hit, and people are going to line up at stores to buy it. And I think that staying the course, not every company has to be Nintendo, but I think, man, the way that corporate America works today with conglomerates, where we own a sports team, and we own a movie studio, and we own a television network, and we own a company that makes toilet paper, it's just ruined the sort of artistic integrity
of toilet paper.
It's toilet paper these days. It's falls apart too easily. I guess the earth matters.
Well, it's like, I think we talked about
it's compromising the artistic integrity of some of these businesses because they're under these umbrellas where it's profit, profit, profit. We're a conglomerate.
Well, I think we talked about it in the past. I forget on what issue it was, but talking about, is it worth it to alienate a group for mass appeal? So let's say, like, for us, for film fans, people who respect the industry and want to see creatives have control and get funding and things like that, this news makes that group mad. I think there's a lot of backlash that this move has caused, and rightfully so. But on the other hand, appealing to the masses and doing what's going to get the most viewership as a whole, I don't think that's a tough decision to make. But when you are dealing like these corporations do in ones and zeros, I think it's actually a pretty easy decision for them to make, and from their perspective, which sucks. Like I said, I think sometimes we lose sight of, like, I think a lot of people don't even know what the fuck is going on, or that this is even happening, and will continue to consume what they want to consume, regardless of what happened in the back and behind the scenes.
Almost seems like life. We don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
You know, very philosophical right there.
It's like when you bring
HBO
up
Max has 100 million subscribers.
But people subscribe just because, like, oh, HBO Max, I'll subscribe. They have the movies.
I think you're underestimating
I think
the
society,
amount of people that this is going to tick off, or when it hits them, when one of their favorite shows that they've been watching is no longer around. I mean, people may be slow to catch up to it all, but
it's like when you're, like, trying to discuss politics with somebody who's not in the loop about an issue. Like, how do you not know or care about this issue? It's such a big thing. And they're like, I don't know. I don't watch the news. I think that translates over very well. It's like, I don't know what Warner Brothers and HBO Max are doing.
Yeah, but they're a major corporation. That's you're pinching pennies as this major conglomerate.
Dude,
every corporation could run this way. Like to my point with Nintendo, you don't think that they're leaving money on the table, not having theme parks, not trying to be, they had an opportunity to be the next Disney, but they didn't want that.
They have a theme park now.
Oh, they do have a Nintendo World.
Yeah, Nintendo World.
But, licensing their characters for movies, doing all these other things, taking other avenues, it doesn't always have to. I think it's stemming from, like I said, this culture of conglomerates gobbling up as many companies as they can. It's more so based on the merger. It's them taking a cool idea, hip idea that could be profitable in the future, saying that's not working for us right now because we're Mr. Big Corporation. It's a little unprecedented, don't you think? It's such an attack on art, on the art of filmmaking, on the art of television.
I know. It sucks that it's come to this, but I don't think...
It's greedy.
It's like...
it just sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we ever talked about a topic for so long. I think that's the longest we've ever talked about a topic.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. We're talking U.S. weekend box office, staying on the business side of things. So number one was Bullet Train. No surprise there.
Did you end up seeing it?
No, I didn't. Didn't end up seeing this one. Made $30 million at the U.S. weekend box office. So solid opener. It's got about $62.4 million worldwide. And DC League of Super Pets came in at number 2 with $11 million. And it's got about $83.1 million worldwide. Number 3 was Nope with $8.5 million worldwide. It's creeping up on $100 million. It's got $98. Number 4 was Thor: Love and Thunder with another 7.7 million worldwide. That's right about at 700 million. And number 5, Minions: The Rise of Gru came in with 7.1 million worldwide. That's got 760. I think this is the first time since the movie came out that Top Gun wasn't in the top 5. It got pushed out.
Damn.
Just barely. It was number 6 with another 7 million. So it still keeps making good money.
Incredible.
Week to week, man. These like 7s, 8s, 10 millions, they add up. So we'll see how long they can keep that thing going.
I didn't actually see any reviews on Bullet Train. How's that been?
Very mixed.
Very mixed?
Critics hate it, but the fans love it.
Yeah, I've heard that it's very fun, that Brad Pitt is great in it. Very electric. But story a little cliche. Little one note.
All
Going
right.
for that sort of, just based on the trailer, the Tarantino, John Woo type of vibe. And I think sometimes it's very easy to get lost in that. It's so hard to mimic Tarantino.
Yeah.
You know?
It looks like it could be a very fun movie, but like I said, I haven't seen any reviews. I haven't seen anybody talk about it. Usually I'll get like the occasional people I follow on Twitter. They'll leave reviews about certain pieces, and I haven't seen anything about this, so I had no idea, and I did not even care to even look it up. So if it's there, I'm gonna look at it. I'm not going out of my way to type it in on Google. So a little too lazy for that.
That's, going back to the general public when it comes to HBO and Warner Brothers. That's what you're dealing with. Millions of him.
Seriously.
That's why things are down. Go see Bullet Train. Save the film industry.
Yeah, let me just take out some money in my 401k to buy fucking medium popcorn. That's why the movie industry is getting fucked up, because you're charging $55 for a water bottle and popcorn and Bunch of Crunch. All right, lower the prices a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that over the years, that's contributed to it.
Because that's the problem. Everything seems to be going up, but not wages. Wages just stay the same. And I don't even
if you didn't get a raise during inflation, you got a pay cut.
I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into the economical side, but all I'm saying is...
I've seen that tweet a million times. And I'm like, every time I see it, I'm like, makes sense.
But yeah, that's a huge reason into why movie theaters are struggling. Film industry struggling because it's $45 for one person to go to the movies.
Not everyone gets the large slushy, large popcorn candy combo.
Well, they're not doing it right then. But still, even to go, it's what, $20 for a ticket nowadays?
Yeah.
It's expensive, man. That's,
You gotta get that Regal Unlimited.
There's just certain movies that you have to watch in the theaters, though. And I feel like a movie like Bullet Train would have to be a movie that you watch in the theaters.
No, I think it's definitely looked fun, and I haven't gotten around to seeing it yet, but like we just talked about Prey, like it's certain movies that you're like that don't do well in the box office, and certain movies on streaming that are like, I wonder how that would have done. Maybe that would have been a good number for Disney now to get back. Well, that was another thing too. I forgot to mention, like, I think we did, but like saying that it's not worth it to put your money in a streaming service because you're getting no revenue from that. But I wonder, like, they look at Prey and kind of translate that over to either future plans or if it's a success, because it's the most streamed movie on their first week of Hulu premiere for the streaming service. But I wonder how that translates into just dollars and cents.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like, what did Bullet Train get? I'm sorry, I forgot, for the first week.
30 million.
30 million. How many streams on Hulu is that? Like, I wonder what the value, the comparison
for
is.
For $30 million, how many like views or watches does that
That is a
equal
weird
to?
way to have to look at things now. Prey, the most stream, could have had 10 million streams, and if 10 million people want to go see it in the box, in the theaters, that's bringing back, over $100 million. So how do you compare? It's just a different way you have to compare and contrast, and it's a weird thing now.
I heard that movie was sensational.
It was very good, yeah.
We
gave it a positive review.
Yeah, Slick watched it, and he because he said my dad's a little bit of a movie buff, but he said that he saw reviews on it, and he's like, I'm going to watch it, and he enjoyed it very much.
You'd enjoy it, I think so.
Yeah, it's fun, very entertaining.
I would like to watch that movie. Maybe when I get hammered one night, as we talked about on the last podcast.
Well, since we went too long on that first topic, let's just move to the next one We'll try and move along, get through these topics quickly so we could get to fan questions. But this was a big story. I mean, we talked about this a few months back on the podcast. There was a rumor that Lady Gaga would be joining Joker 2, which is going to be a musical.
I hate that.
I love
absolutely.
That's the best.
You love that?
Yeah.
I know you're a big musical guy, but I feel like I feel like he's a huge musical guy.
I like musicals, but I think this is just a fun way to take, like we said.
I don't know if you're being serious by saying that or joking. That's the thing.
It's
Either
kind of
way,
half
it's
and
funny.
half.
Yeah, okay.
Half and half.
No, I do. I enjoy musicals, but like another Warner Brothers property, something that was made a ton of money, and it seems like they're trying to go away from these type of movies, something creative and very filmmaker driven.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's it. It did perfectly fine, even though I didn't enjoy Joker. Joker made a killing when it came out. Why are you taking a different approach now? And now
Keeps it fresh. That's like, I think that's what made you mad, and it's like, oh, let's do the Marvel model. You know what's not in the Marvel model? Fucking musicals, sequels to the Joker.
And this may be the last time we get a movie like this from DC, as it pertains to DC characters. I don't hate this idea. I mean, Lady Gaga is insane in the best possible way. So she's sort of the best actor to bring in as Harley Quinn for a premise this ridiculous. That's going to get the reaction from a lot of people like Nash. From a lot of DC fans, they're not going to be thrilled about this. But I think people are underestimating how dark it's going to be. And how funny it could potentially be, especially if it's set entirely in Arkham. They're going to be singing songs, committing crimes, doing horrible things, possibly to each other, to other people. Joaquin and Lady Gaga is the perfect pairing for Joker and Harley Quinn.
Dude, like think about a comic or a animated movie where it's Joker's perspective and he's just batshit insane, stuck in this musical that he orchestrated for himself.
Yeah, right.
Like that would fit. Like I would watch it. I'd be like, that's perfect for the character.
Yes.
Just because it's live action doesn't change that aspect of it. And it's going back to just like, I think fans of the Joker knowing like what's going on and kind of who he is and how he acts in other mediums is probably like, yeah, as a fan, I love this. And general audience probably like, when they heard the news, were like, this is fucking weird. I don't want this. It's just disconnect that I think is very apparent now, and it's a shame. But as far as this go, like you said, Lady Gaga is perfect for this role. Obviously, she has the voice, and she can play, I think, the Harley Quinn character very well, I would imagine.
Yeah, especially if it's a dynamic of her being his psychiatrist. She's trying to cure him, and he manipulates her to the point of going insane. And they're both the inmates running the asylum. Through a musical, it can be over-stylized, it can be very colorful, and like I said, if it's going to, I imagine it's going to be rated R, I think it will be just as brutal and just as dark as the first one.
Better musical, because Chazelle recently came out and said Babylon, is it Babylon, the next one?
Yeah.
Is going to be like a modern Singing in the Rain.
Awesome.
So...
I completely hate this idea.
Better musical.
Have you seen Singing in the Rain?
No.
You should watch Singing in the Rain. It might change your mind on musicals. It is delightful.
I don't hate musicals. I just think this is a terrible idea for a musical.
Well, you didn't like the first one.
I hated the first one.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated it.
But if this one comes out, and like I'm saying, if it's dark, if it's smart, clever, the songs are catchy, but also they fit with the themes of the movie and the characters. If it's, just a great movie.
Do you know like La La Land?
Never saw it.
The idea of a horror musical to me is just very interesting.
I think musicals have I think when they hit they're usually very good. I think
some people just don't care when it comes to musicals. I was wondering if you're one of those, no matter what it is, you're just not going to enjoy it. Because I know a lot of people like that on film. Not so many, but
I think it depends, like you said, how it
sort of like Soda.
How it fits into the story. I think there's a fine line to draw where if it's too, like the music itself, is it too much exposition for it not to be like a good song where the whole song...
I don't think there's going to be much exposition. It's going to be just vibes.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Chaos.
I think you have to toe the line where you don't want your song to completely just be explaining things. You also want it to be a good song while having things that connect you to the actual picture as a whole. Yeah, I just want this to be...
Like, if they fit in the songs the same way they fit in that dance sequence in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's the type of vibes you're going for. Just kind of, it doesn't really move the plot forward, but it's important for that character where he's developing his sense of freedom, even though he's becoming more psychotic.
I wonder how
Just things that develop the characters that way.
I wonder how they're going to structure it. Is it going to be mostly like original tracks? Are they going to do some covers and things like that? Because I can see them going anyway. Yeah.
When you bring in someone like Lady Gaga, she helped out with the music on A Star Is Born, and a lot of people love that soundtrack. Bradley Cooper still gets 11 million monthly listeners on Spotify.
You're up on your Spotify.
I'm fascinated by monthly listeners on whether if they have more or less than Bradley Cooper. Don't recommend me an artist that has less monthly listeners than Bradley Cooper, because that's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but
Really,
good soundtrack.
I
think that, when you bring, sorry to cut you off, Nash, when you bring in a talent like that, you can, work with some good composers, bring in some lyricists, and really figure this thing out. So many people laughed at Todd Phillips for all the obvious influences of the Joker, saying that he ripped off this one and he ripped off that one. So maybe he took that personally and says, okay, I'm going to make something that no one has ever seen before.
I would actually love Todd Phillips if he was like, all right, you criticize me for ripping off Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, and like I was just feeding into that kind of stereotype or, that type of audience. Now I'm going to rip off fucking musicals. Shut everybody up. I think I would actually respect that a lot. They're Singing in the Rain, but Joker and Arkham.
I don't know. Like I said, the first one was, I think, maybe a hot take here, but I think it was the most overrated movie I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think it was bad. I think when I first saw it, actually, I really enjoyed it. On second watch, I still liked it a lot. I think some of the criticisms are mostly, like you said, either people not either enjoying that type of movie or that type of narrative, or the fact that it is derivative of other films that are classics.
Yeah.
But I think I still enjoy it a lot.
It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth with the first one. So I can't see the Joker just being happy-go-lucky, singing a musical, and then
that's the Joker.
What you're always bringing up. Aaron's always bringing up that we haven't seen that comic Joker iteration. You remember the Batman animated series, Mark Hamill's Joker?
Yes.
That is more in line with the comics. You've been trained on Heath Ledger, now Joaquin Phoenix,
right?
Even Jared Leto to an extent, but I don't even think. Did you even see the Suicide Squad?
No.
So people have this perception of the 21st century Joker, but hearing this idea, I instantly thought I could 100% see this character thriving in this genre, because he's a little.
I mean, Jack's Joker is
right. Jack's Joker would have been perfect for it.
Yeah, that's
when he's dancing around to Prince. That's the best scene of the movie. Because only he could make that so goofy, so cheesy, but also intimidating. The character's enjoying himself, but you're still scared of him in the back of your mind. And I think Joaquin Phoenix is perfect for that. And I think he's shown the ability to adapt to whatever the movie is. So I think he'll thrive as a leading man in the musical as the Joker. I think it could be really wacky, really funny, really silly, but also super scary and intimidating at the same time.
So funny that he said that, because like the Joker at his purest is having the time of his life at all times.
Yes, right. It's
he
pure
is
chaos.
Like that's what he is.
Yeah, not bored, just pure emotion, pure instinct. Once again, pure chaos. The clown prince of crime. That's what I think we would see here. All right, let's go to fan questions.
Hit it.
That's for the fan to decide.
Yay! People, you call up to the show, you better be ready. That's what you're supposed to do. Sitting there arguing and you're trying to spell your name and all of this other stuff. It's not your show, it's my show. I'm giving you the opportunity to speak your mind. Don't call up here unless you got something to say.
This question here from Luke_Cullen44.
Luke.
What's a risk taken in film TV that isn't praised enough?
A risk?
I always go back to, I'm going to give a specific answer. The Force Awakens not giving us any Luke Skywalker until the very end. I thought that it was a major risk. Like I said, we can go general as well.
Yeah, I was thinking more general. Like I think,
but it's not talked about a lot, and I think at the time it was a very ballsy move.
I think when projects, especially more so in TV, you see it with Lord of the Rings, you saw it with Game of Thrones, where they don't rely on the names to bring people in.
Force Awakens again.
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley, John Boyega.
Newcomers not really getting, you always have one or two established names, but relying on kind of these newer actors or people who aren't really known to the public yet, and having the faith in them and their ability to really drive the show.
I'll tell you a big risk. Dune, the first Dune, not having enough worms. That was a risk. You need to have more worms.
The Dune that just came out?
Yeah. I needed to see more worms. And I know that you said the second, if I want worms, I'm getting worms.
You didn't like the fact that they're hiding the worms? They're teasing the worms?
I want to see worms, man. Like, me, with like dinosaurs, more dinosaurs the better.
See, I'm in complete disagreement with you, but I understand the want.
More fights, Godzilla and King Kong. I want to see them brawl.
Sure. That I fully agree with you.
Another risk, this is more on like the behind the scenes, is when this happens all the time when the new CEO comes in and strays away from scripted content in favor of more reality based stuff. That's always a big risk.
That is the opposite of a risk. That is a calculated money move.
I think
But I think when you build something up and you don't give audiences what they expect, that's a very risky move. One of the best, I think, payoffs of that was Metal Gear Solid 2. Coming off of the success of the first game, everyone knows who Solid Snake is. The second game, he's in it for like 10 minutes, and then he's replaced by somebody else. And that wasn't in the marketing whatsoever. It was a huge controversy when it did happen, because everyone was like, where the fuck is Solid Snake? We came to play this game with Solid Snake. And now looking back, Metal Gear Solid 2 is considered one of the best games of all time.
Tilo 2. Huge example of that.
Killing off characters that people aren't necessarily expecting.
Yeah.
But even though with Tilo 2, I think about that all the time, the discourse surrounding that game. It was so unwarranted. I mean, it's never surprising, but my goodness, they took that shit too far. Because a lot of people saw that coming. That's what's so annoying. How are they going to do this? That they're a bit older? Well, Joel's got to die. Joel's can't stick around. He survived the first fucking game. He's going to survive the second game in this type of setting when everyone else is dying? No way. And then what had happened? Or how can you kill the great Joel?
Well, it's a shame that it's a risk too, but like we talked about it a little before, like
there's a guy named Joel from Texas.
Your filmmakers. Letting Todd Phillips make a fucking musical out of Joker. Like things like that, or putting money into indie projects. Those are considered very risky nowadays. You don't really think about it too much because that's not really like considered or in the news cycle, but a lot of those like seemingly normal things are considered risky now.
A huge risk I see happening is Chris Pratt being the voice of Super Mario.
Yeah.
That is...
I thought you were going to go casting James Franco as Fidel Castro.
Well,
that's a risk.
That's a huge risk.
Big risk.
That's very big.
Well, in cinema history, casting Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man was a big risk. At the time, he was such a toxic personality. He has this rep as the Hollywood bad boy, always in trouble, unreliable. So they took a major risk, and they made him the face of a multi-billion-dollar franchise. And obviously, it's been talked about a lot, but I think that's
at the time, yeah.
Right, at the time, it was, what the hell are they doing? And it worked out.
Very risky too, releasing your movie where your lead has a 5-star wanted level.
Yeah, and it's still going.
Should be fun to see how that plays out. This question here from Strawberry_Jam.
Yo.
Brad Pitt or Leo? Who has the better filmography?
Leo.
My gut's telling me Leo.
Yeah.
Because Brad Pitt's had way more bad movies than Leo has ever had.
The one that he's recently just in with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock.
The Lost City.
But
a lot of people like The Lost City, and it made money.
He'll do shit like that.
He was the best part of that movie, without a doubt.
Oh, so you saw it?
Yeah, I did see it.
But I think
he shows up and he's mad funny.
I'm so like, what if they? I guess to make money, but that would have been such a fun reveal.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Such a great reveal, because even when he's talking on the phone in the beginning, I'm like, who is that voice? And then when he showed up, I'm like, oh yeah, he was in the trailer.
I think Leo's
got a great filmography.
Yeah, and especially
it's hard to really stack up his movies
I think
against
he's a better
any other
actor too. Brad Pitt definitely brings a certain level of charisma that I don't think is matched by many, but he's still very marketable.
Yeah,
at
He's
this
a
stage of
great
his
movie
career.
star.
I think Leo is too, but I think Leo is starting to take different types of roles where I think he could still sell Brad Pitt in just a movie star way. But yeah, what's the best movie Brad Pitt's been in? You want to say? I mean, you can argue even the Ocean's 11 could be. That's
Once Upon a Time
very
in
good movie.
Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in
Yeah.
Hollywood. Troy isn't really that great,
Iconic.
Oh, I love Troy.
but it's
Love me some
iconic.
Troy.
Fight Club, very iconic as well.
Burn After Reading, one of his
Yes.
more
Seven.
acclaimed performances. Seven.
He was great.
Yeah.
in.
He's got a really strong filmography, but Leo's just, when you have the relationship with Martin Scorsese, it's going to do you some good
so
favors.
much.
Now thinking about it, is Leo in any bad movies? I would say his worst
J.
movies.
Edgar,
Okay.
I think.
Don't Look Up, depending on who you ask.
I was just about to say, that's probably his worst movie.
No. Early in his career, he was in some pretty bad movies. But even I look back, like The Man in the Iron Mask, I just liked when I was a kid. But it's just not objectively not a good movie. People didn't like Gatsby.
Gatsby may be the answer.
Okay.
I think that's objectively a bad movie. But hey, if you're making that many movies as a leading man for how many decades now, and
But
you
I
have
think,
one
from
bad movie,
06 on.
according to me, a lot of people like Gatsby. So
Yeah.
I mean, The
Shutterfly,
Beach
when it
sucked.
came out, now everyone loves Shutterfly, but Shutter Island, Shutterfly. When it came out, it was
Butterfly Effect.
very polarizing. But now everyone loves it.
Was Revolutionary Road, I think that was just more his performance, and Kate Winslet's performance are good, but I don't know if it was regarded as a good movie. I think it was okay.
I don't
but,
know. I've never even seen that.
Surprise. Actually, I won't tell you who's in it. If you ever watch it.
What year did it come out?
07?
Anthony Hopkins?
No.
Imagine I drilled that.
It'd be nice. What about Basketball Diaries? You guys ever see that?
Yeah.
Movie's
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah. Well, yeah, of course. One of his best.
Frozen in the snow like a goddamn creamsicle. We used to say that all the time. I don't know why. Very nice.
I never really
Should hit her
realized
up.
Shutter Island wasn't loved until recently.
Yeah, I think it's when it came out, audiences didn't love it so much.
Really? I think that's just a...
I wonder if the film rating on Rotten Tomatoes has ever been adjusted for what critics think about it now. But
I'll tell you, you can't go wrong with either actor. So, I mean, it's like peanut butter or fluff.
I mean, historically,
You're
I
still going to
think
get a delicious sandwich.
You're going
yeah,
wrong
it's still
at
got
a
68% on Rotten
higher
Tomatoes.
rate with Brad Pitt. But when he's never not enjoyable. He's never the reason why the movie's bad.
Right.
And neither is Leo, but actually maybe early on you could say that. I don't know. People don't like his performance in Gangs of New York, right?
Oh, it's a fantastic movie, though.
No, it's a great movie, but I just remember people not liking his accent.
His accent.
Blood Diamonds, I think he does good, but I think people had criticism of his South African accent. Romeo plus Juliet.
All right, let's get to the next question before you bust a nut. This question here from
3 hour nut.
_ Rost 123.
Yo,
Favorite Attack on Titan moment? How far are you on Attack?
I stopped after the second season.
Season 3 is the best season,
I know,
man.
I know.
Get in on that.
I got to get back in on it.
shit.
Well,
Now you're on Sopranos.
yeah, I'm on Sopranos kick, and I can't watch Attack on Titan because a certain somebody that I used to talk to, they would give me their account.
Oh, I'll give you an account. You need an account?
I need an
You don't have a
account.
Hulu?
I don't have Hulu.
Oh my God!
I don't think so.
You probably have.
Here's
Hulu.
$20. Get yourself a Hulu.
I might have Hulu. Wait a minute. Then what don't I have?
Attack is on Hulu. It's on there.
Yeah, but isn't it only 2 seasons or 1 season, and there's something else that you have to go through?
No,
That's not Netflix. Only the first season
okay.
was on Netflix.
no, all 4 on.
So you know what I did? I did end up getting Hulu, and I bought it. That's right. Okay. Well, I just stopped after the second season, so
Okay, now
But-
you have no excuse.
yeah. Now I don't. After The Sopranos, I'm done. Favorite Attack on Titan moment? Oh, I mean, finding out when he's the guy. You know, he's. I don't know how to explain. Well, I know how to explain it, but I'm trying to.
When Aaron is the Titan?
Yeah, Aaron. That was pretty sick. I thought,
I thought he was dead.
yeah, I thought he was dead, and then
Levi
finding
taking
that.
out the female Titan, maybe.
That was, I think that might not be my favorite moment or the
Mine
best.
is a season 3 moment. I think it's a
Necessarily.
lot of people's favorite moment
Yeah.
that involves Levi.
with the
I don't want to spoil it, but
with the speech.
Right.
And the
there you go.
Beast,
The speech,
yeah.
what the speech leads up to. Man.
No, but him.
It's a great episode.
The whole those episodes with the female Titan and they're tracking her down through the forest. I think that was the first time I was like legit addicted to the show.
Yeah, that's when it gets really fun. Just the setting of the forest, everything feels so big. The way they're planning their different formations and the different jobs that they all have to do, just trying to stay alive while also trying to capture a Titan.
Yeah.
It's one of those shows where every time they accomplish something, you think back, how the hell did they pull this shit off?
Especially
I think even
her,
like
man.
Yeah.
the like
She's a
when you find
beast.
out about Reiner and Bertolt, like I think that was fucking all like just a great moment. Like kind of just
Is he up to that? I don't think he heard you anyway.
No,
yeah,
I
but
didn't.
like I kept it vague. But you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
See, I was invested for a while, and then it's just the anime style just kind of like bothers me a little
When
bit.
Peak shows up.
Peak is great, man. If you don't at least get to Peak, whew, she's a bad girl. All right, let's take another question. Take a few more.
The anime style. How am I gonna get out of this one? Are
you watching the dub or the sub?
Ooh. What'd you think about Prey?
I was watching the dub.
Yeah, you get away from the dub. Dub
yeah.
is terrible.
I know.
What'd you think about Prey not giving you what the French were saying, or even the Comanche?
I think that was an artistic choice.
Yeah.
I know people complaining about that on Twitter.
I'm actually like, I don't hate it. I think I would have rather it just be all subs. Because it is like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a weird decision. Apparently there's a Comanche dub out there.
yeah.
I wasn't going to make the effort to,
No, I was just going to watch it in whatever form it was given to me on
Yeah.
Hulu, but
especially when it comes to the mouth movements. Once
No.
I realized it was meant to be in English.
yes.
It would have been better, sure, if it was fully in Comanche, without a doubt, but I didn't mind it.
Just a little aside.
Well, it's great. There's a movie like when Herzog makes movies about Spanish explorers, and it's played by a German guy who's speaking German. He's supposed to be Spanish. It's just like you forget, he's just a guy in the Amazon.
Well, I think that choice is obviously because you're supposed to be in her shoes and not understanding what the fuck they're talking about it and being like scared of the situation.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But people saying, oh, this is the worst type of subtitling. It's like, I can't even deal with these morons anymore. This question here from Matt_Sampson. Most anticipated movie left this year?
There's a lot coming out. Avatar, man.
Yeah, it's got to be Avatar just to see how good it is. See if it can make that money.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Most anticipated movie for the rest of the year.
Well, Killers of the Flower Moon got postponed. Babylon's late December. The Disappointment Boulevard coming out this year. Is that still happening?
I think so.
But yeah, Avatar.
Avatar. What about Barbie?
Next year.
Next year? Oh, I can't wait.
That's definitely on the list of most anticipated for next year. Yeah, I think Avatar would be my answer. Without a doubt. That's kind of easy. This question here from Danny. Can you please shout out a happy birthday for my boyfriend and your #1 fan, Nick L? Yes, happy birthday, Nick. He's actually been a long-time listener. Cool dude.
Happy birthday, Nick.
Always retweets the pods.
Yeah, happy birthday or something. That meme that
No,
I showed
Nick
you.
deserves it.
No,
Yeah.
happy birthday, Nick. Thank you for the support. And Danny, wonderful, significant other. The S.
Okay, don't lay it on
right.
too thick.
Well, I'm going 0 or 100. All right.
Should have known that.
Yeah.
So shout out to Nick.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
This question here, we'll end it on this one from
today.
Eli Ray 98.
Eli.
What are your top 3 shows that you've seen in the last year or so?
Like new to me, or they just came out?
I guess it could be either, but I would say new shows, maybe
Yeah.
newer shows that have come out over the last year or so. Well, 's, I hate to be this guy, but it's still Better Call Saul. And
I was gonna go there.
you guys missed it. At this point, I've given up.
I mean, I watched Invincible for the first time this year, which was incredible.
I think
was
that counts.
Huge fan.
Well, yeah, we're going like Succession in season 3,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah, a year or so.
Yeah, because it's technically new, right?
yeah.
It's a new season. Yeah, Succession's got to be there. Invincible's definitely there.
Good the boys. I've enjoyed watching My Hero earlier in the year, or even just catching up on that has been really fun. Attack on Titan's been a year and a half too, right? I think the latest season was pretty excellent.
You two are trying to stretch this shit out.
I don't know.
I love this.
Yeah.
You guys are like operating in mid 221. This just meet the deadline, sir.
Yeah, I know. It's because
What's come out? Like that's
Well, you
been-
just got Hulu.
Well, Squid Game. You liked Severance. I still haven't caught that yet.
Severance. The Bear.
I gotta watch The Bear soon too.
Yellow Jackets.
Slick loves Yellow Jackets.
Heard great things about
I had a
it.
great time with Peacemaker.
Barry.
Barry,
Better call Gene.
Speaking of Peacemaker, it's not.
Peacemaker.
James Gunn said it's safe.
Yeah, until Big Poppy Zaslav gets his hands on it. And then you really can't see John Cena. I would go Barry, Better Call Saul, and Demon Slayer, man. This season 2 of Demon Slayer was unbelievable.
I was gonna start that one like a few months ago.
You should. It's good. It's very short, too. Okay, guys. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you so much for listening. For Aaron Nash, I am Beau Oliver signing off. Comment, like, share, do all that stuff.
I want to see some comments. All right,
More comments.
more comments, please.
Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Beau says, you keep the lights on in the fridge so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our patron supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you could choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency, so thank you from my future self for making us rich.